When we last saw Tony La Russa, he was hugging Lance Berkman after the final out of the World Series. Tony La Russa has a book out called One Last Strike. It takes a look at Tony's 50 years in the game.
The story is so compelling, and that's probably the best thing. You know, there's a lot of things that's gotten into it. I realized, but you kind of put it aside, and you're kind of overwhelmed because so many things went on with that club.
In the air to left, well hit. Back is Craig. What a team. What a ride.
Have you figured out why this team won?
You know, it's as simple in this era of Moneyball and all the analytics. It's as simple as will to win, teamwork. There was great chemistry on that club. But they just made a commitment that they were not going to get finished unless they gave everything they had. We build our team around three very basic values: respect, trust, and caring. Respect, trust, and caring. In other words, we ask each guy to earn the respect of their teammates. How do you do that? Well, you have a certain amount of talent, but it's more what you try to do with that talent, how you practice with it, how you play with it. Trust, very similar concept, but you got to believe when you get into these competitions that you can trust the guy on your right, left, front, back, that they're going to be there. And last but not least, you know, we require that you care about the outcome of the game, about each teammate personally and professionally. Our style is personalization. I must have been asked, 30 years I did this thing. How'd you do it? How'd you do it? And I said, it's so simple. It's called personalization. Here again, I'm a little embarrassed. It isn't more complicated or difficult. But just hang with me for a minute, because I really believe that this is golden stuff for all of you. The way things are today, there are so many distractions. The people you deal with have got so much going on that my dad always said, the more complicated it gets, the simpler you keep it. The only way that we have found that we could survive coaching professional athletes was to personalize our approach. In other words, everybody on our staff, so you talk about the manager, it was one-on-one with each person. And we did the same thing that we asked the team to do. Every year we started at zero as a staff. I started at zero. I had to earn the respect, the trust, and I had to show caring for the player personally and professionally. I want you to please pay attention, because I'm not lecturing. I'm just so convinced that this was our secret. I've had it come back at me too many times. Guys leave us. They say, you know, they're not with you other places like you guys were with us. It's a very hard way to lead because it's so intensive on a daily basis. You can't do it once in a while, and then when a guy's looking for you, you're not there. But it's paying attention on a personal basis. And what you're trying to convince the player to do, for him to personalize his responsibility. It starts with you, though, by the way. And I'm going to tell you how I keep saying this because my whole life has been corny like this. It starts with you personalizing yourself. I can't ever ask the players to do anything that I'm not doing myself. So if I'm asking them to every day be there and compete to the best ability, then I got to do the same thing. So I've done this for all the years. Like I'm not even sure I shave because I quit looking in the mirror. For every year that I managed, before I left the office, I would look in the mirror, and I would look at the guy who's looking back at me, and I said, when the game is over, I do not want to be embarrassed at the face I'm staring at. That's personalizing. And so I went into that game, and I knew when the game was over that I was going to have to answer to me. Did I bear down as hard as I could? Was the quality of my decision that at any time that I back off? And I was not going to let me down. And I think the key is that that's not being egotistical. That's just being responsible. Because we as a staff, we were never egotistical. It's always about the players. But that's gospel right there. We teach how to make pressure your friend. And as an organization, and I really think this is a direct analogy to what the Alliance is trying to do, our whole staff, our game is our players. Our staff tries to put the players in position to win. Our biggest goal is to create an environment where guys come to the park and feel like they've got support, honest comments, and everything that they need to succeed. Good friend back home is, Captain Sullenberger that landed on the Hudson. He just coincidentally, he's a neighbor. I didn't know that till, because he and his family are Fosters. I didn't know that till I met him after he landed the plane. I asked him, tell me about that almost 3-minute thing. Talk about pressure. And you know what he tells you? He says at the moment that everything was going wrong, he forced calm on himself, and he went down and he thought about the process. He thought about 3 things. Level wings, nose up, control the speed as best he could. I mean, that is exactly what pressure performance is. He didn't think about, if I make a mistake, we're all going to die. I mean, it works. Last year in the World Series, the NBA was on strike. So their coach of the Dallas Mavericks, who were the reigning world champions, Rick Carlisle, and the assistant GM, Keith Grant, who's an old Cardinal fan, they got to coming to our games because they were on strike. There was 15 of the 18 games played in the postseason. And we've talked a lot about, coaches share stuff, and shared this pressure formula and so forth. And if you watch the Mavericks of a year ago, remember how many games they won in the fourth quarter? And there was one guy named Dirk Nowitzki that was amazing. He would just take the game over. So here's the story. Played the first 2 games of the World Series in St. Louis. Split them. Now we're going to Dallas, got an off day. And game 3, I understand that Dirk is going to throw out the first pitch, which is a very nervous time for people because they do a lot of embarrassing things like bounce it over the head. And so we're having dinner on the off day. Real nice restaurant in Dallas. I think it was Nick and Sam's or something. It's really a nice restaurant. We had all the coaches there, and here's Rick and here's Keith. And all of a sudden, Keith, he says, look at this, man. He had gotten a text from one of the players that found out that Dirk was going to throw the first pitch. And the text to Dirk was, hey, big boy, don't choke. Everybody's watching you. The pressure's on. Dirk's response, I will use forever. On my honor. Dirk's answer, I make love to pressure, my man. That's who I am. I mean, that's taking the embracing pressure a little farther than